All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for RWBY Volume 5.
Yeah. Episode 5.
Necessary Sacrifice. That's
basically
bad. Talking about, I don't know. Actually, that's a good point, because I actually thought it was the Belladonna family. But it could be just referring to, what's her name?
Summer.
No, not Summer. Oh gosh, no.
Well, because they could do a Stark flashback.
I don't think they're doing that this episode. I feel like that as a huge thing is going to be something that might be teased on, but we wouldn't get necessarily a full flashback. I've never been a thing of saying that because Raven's going to tell them the truth, so to speak, we're going to get a full Stark flashback.
Right.
I would like that.
That would be awesome.
But I don't think they're actually going to do that.
Right. They need to keep some cards off the table.
Right, exactly. So, in terms of the necessary sacrifice, I think it's actually more talking about Sienna Khan. Is the idea that the White Fang see her as a necessary sacrifice for their progression,
or at least Adam certainly did.
Well, here's the other thing, though. When you see the word necessary, I think of like justified, or it's a word that's like, well, we kind of tolerate it,
right?
But we're not happy about it.
And if that is the case, that means it might be getting some more screen time with Hazel. You know?
Well, anyone that has some kind of disagreement with the way Adam's doing things, or with Adam themselves, and it'd be cool to have Ilya be the focus of that specifically to show that she's not 100% on board with Adam's every single decision,
right?
And it mirrors the way that she is kind of like Blake 2.0 in the same position Blake was a long time ago.
And that would be really interesting to see if the way Adam handles that kind of conflict, would you keep it a complete secret from Adam, or would the fact that Blake has left make Adam be a bit more like not so blunt with his underlings?
I could see him being still pretty blunt in the fact that the way he talked to Blake when they were in Volume 3. He doesn't seem to be a mature individual.
No, not
It seems to be that he is an intelligent individual by some means, but he is not a wise individual.
Yeah.
It's like the idea of someone that has a great amount of experience because of the stuff that they've experienced in life, but they do not have the wisdom to apply that knowledge in a way that is wise.
He's like an edgier, much less likable Zuko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But way worse.
Way worse.
Way worse.
Just so much worse.
All right. I'm interested to see who or what is this necessary sacrifice.
Right.
So without further ado, let's get into this episode and see what happens. Menagerie.
Menagerie, yeah. They've got some bad news.
The lighting is so much better.
Okay.
It is.
Are you ready?
I've beat up on giant monsters and robots more than once. I think I can handle getting a few signatures.
Signatures? For what? Oh, they're gonna petition or something like that.
The chieftain needs you.
Support against Adam.
Yeah.
Join the fight and help us save Haven Academy.
But it's not against Adam yet. It's specifically about going to stop the attack on Haven.
Yeah, that's...
This is all just not going to work.
Nope.
We'd love to have someone with your skills on our side.
Mata. Get back inside.
Mom.
You're not going anywhere.
that voice acting. No, guess not.
Yeah.
I guess it's a cool way for us to see all the different faunus on Menagerie and how many of them there are.
Right. But they're going about this the wrong way.
They are going about this the wrong way. Cutting down his tree, what the heck? Hey, swimming faunus! Are they fish?
Possibly. I always thought that would be like one of the coolest faunus traits to have.
They've got fins. Was one of them a mermaid? Oh my gosh, I think one of them had a tail for legs.
Okay.
I don't get it. How can they just sit around and do nothing with the White Fang getting ready to attack?
Because it's not their problem.
Like you and me. The Faunus here in Menagerie,
Oh, they're in the water,
ones that
too.
weren't born on
Yep.
the island, moved here
That is
because they were
cool.
tired of fighting, of having to struggle constantly. Menagerie is filled with people
They just
that
wanted a
want to be
normal
left
life.
alone.
Yep.
Yep.
Here we are asking them to put the rest of the world before themselves.
Now, if you got them to
Guess I never
say
really
try and
thought
stand
about it
against
like that.
Adam, that might be a
The
different
problem
thing.
is, whatever happens at Haven is going to affect them whether they like it or not. If Adam gets his way and Haven falls, it's only going to make things worse for the Faunus.
Aw. Blake's
Everywhere.
ears.
Yeah.
Adam,
Oh.
he's the
yeah.
guy you used to work with?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, forget I brought it up.
No, it's okay. Have you ever met someone and thought to yourself, they are the personification of this word?
I kind of
Okay,
have
well,
sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember getting to know Ruby and thinking, this girl is the embodiment of purity.
Aw.
After a while, I saw Weiss was
The smaller,
defiance,
more honest soul.
and Yang was
Sure.
strength.
Defiance,
I?
purity, and strength. Huh.
Jury's
Interesting.
still out on that one.
Ah,
But
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards Ernest.
hey.
The importance of being earnest.
That's good.
Yeah. Now, what about Blake?
First, I thought Adam was justice. Then I thought he was passion. But over time, I realized I was wrong. He wasn't any of those things.
He's edge.
He was spite.
Whoa.
Ooh,
Not
that's
hatred, not rage, spite.
Whoa.
nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
Accept equality.
because it's so
Only
childish too.
suffering for what he feels the world did to him.
Yep.
And his way of thinking is dangerously contagious. That's what worries me about Ilya. She's not like Adam, not yet at least.
But she could
But I
be.
don't know how long that will last.
She was your friend, huh?
Yeah.
She was. Her
Oh, the
chameleon
water looks
traits
so
meant
amazing.
she could pass as human. She could have lived a normal life if she wanted. But she didn't. I always admired that. She lost her family in a mining accident when she was young, and she joined the White Fang. Like me, she was more or less trained on the road alongside other faunus. She learned to survive, to defend herself. But as people like Sienna and Adam started to gain a following, she became more dangerous. I guess I did too.
Well, yeah.
My parents tried to get me to leave with them, but I refused. I had Adam and Ilya, after all.
You know we're going to have to face her eventually.
I know.
Adam too.
So,
Well, she's already resolved that.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and help her the way you helped me. You showed me that sometimes you need to be there for a friend, even when they don't want you to be. I was drowning in guilt and fear. I tried to push you away, but you didn't give up on me. And I can't give up on Ilya.
Aw.
It's about time I saved my friends for once.
Nice.
She's becoming more and more of a proactive character. This is
Yep.
great. What? Whoa.
Training time.
Yeah.
Scream very loudly.
Are you hungry? It's almost dinner time.
Yeah. That sounds good. I was about to call it a night anyway.
So, you've never fought before?
Just the occasional small grim.
Huh?
Nothing like
Really?
this, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
What? How did that go?
Yeah.
Natural.
It's strange. I've only had this cane for a few weeks, but I feel like I've had it for a lifetime. Longer, even.
Because you have.
I sound like a crazy person.
I mean, yeah, just a little.
Right.
But at this pace, you'll be combat ready in no time.
Oh. Oh, she's got sad right there. She's.
Well, I'll see you upstairs.
How do you handle all of this?
Oh.
Yes.
What do you mean?
I'm scared.
Yeah.
More scared than I've ever been in my life. Than I ever thought was possible. I always knew that I wanted to be more than a farmhand, but this?
Specifically looking
Would
at the
ask
cane.
for this.
Yeah. Oh man, tears.
Yep.
Wow.
went to Beacon because we wanted to help people. But you're right. None of us asked for this either. We just have to press on and
How
hope.
can you be so confident?
Wow.
People have tried to kill you. The world's about to go to war all over again. How are you okay with any of this?
This is cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is important.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this
When
needs...
Beacon fell, I lost 2 of my friends. Penny Polandina and Pira Nikos. I didn't know them for very long, but that doesn't change the fact that they were 2 of the most kind-hearted people I'd ever met. But that didn't save them. Pira thought that if there was even the smallest chance of helping someone, that it was a chance worth taking. And because of that, she died fighting a battle she knew she couldn't win. And Penny was killed just to make a statement.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I am scared. But not just for me.
Mm-hmm.
What happened at Beacon shows that Salem doesn't care if you're standing against her or not. She'll kill anybody. And that scares me most of all. Pira, Penny, I'd be lying if I said that it didn't hurt. That I didn't think about them every day since I lost them. That I didn't wish I had spent more time with them. If it had been me instead, I know they would have kept fighting too. No matter how dangerous it was.
Yeah.
So that's what I choose to do. To keep moving forward.
Yes!
Yep. There we go.
Saw that coming from a mile away, but it's so worth it.
Come on. If we don't hurry, Nora's gonna eat everything. It wouldn't be the first time.
Right.
Hey, Oscar. This isn't gonna be easy. But the fact that you're even trying says a lot about you. You're braver than you think.
She really is remarkable.
Yes.
Yeah. She must have been one of the best huntresses at Beacon, huh?
In some ways, yes. But in many others, no. She has her quirks, her faults, just like everyone else. But she also possesses something unquantifiable. A spark. That can
Yeah.
inspire others even in the darkest of times.
Right.
And that is why she's the main character.
Must
Exactly.
be really hard on her, too.
It most assuredly is.
Your thoughts
Oh, the Fennec
are of
Almang.
no significance. If
Yeah.
this is how High Leader Taurus wishes to proceed, then we shall make it so. Of course, brother. Still.
Oh.
Okay.
One of the brothers is doubting.
Yeah.
Sister Ilya,
Oh, okay.
thank you for meeting with us.
How may I be of assistance?
Please, stand. We have wonderful news.
What is it?
We finally received a message from the Mistral Brotherhood. The
Oh.
operation was a success.
Wow.
Adam Taurus has claimed his place as the High Leader of the White Fang.
Good. And Sienna?
Buried with honor. The other branches of the Fang have been given the story that was agreed upon.
Okay.
A necessary sacrifice.
Oh, there
Right.
it is. Roll
Yeah.
credits.
She did for us.
Indeed.
Your maturity and understanding in regards to this matter is appreciated, and it is why we've summoned you here this evening.
The White Fang is experiencing a transitional period.
Growth requires change.
Oh,
and
no. Oh,
change
boy.
can be painful.
Conquering
If
menagerie.
it's for the betterment of the Faunus, then
We're just
it's a pain we can
subjugating.
endure. What's our next mission?
Containment. With the CCT tower still inoperable, we have the luxury of control over the flow of information.
News of Adam's ascension has yet to reach Menagerie, but But when it does, the citizens of Kuokoana will undoubtedly react poorly now that the chieftain has spoken out against us.
Mm-hmm.
It's my fault the Belladonnas had any ground to stand on.
Do not concern yourself with past failures, Ilya. Focus on the future. We have an opportunity for redemption.
What do you need me to do?
The Belladonnas are the only remaining threat to Adam's assault on Haven Academy.
Remove them.
And so,
yeah,
they must be silenced.
Oh.
Silenced?
Like Sienna, they stand in the way of true progress for our people.
We would never put such a burden on you alone, of course. Your brothers and sisters will be at your side. But your relationship
making
with
sure
your
you finish
daughter
the
makes you
deed.
an integral part of this operation.
Blake?
It's integral, not integral.
We know how close you were with young Blake. Rest assured, High Leader Taurus has requested she be taken alive, but we cannot risk having her present to defend her family.
Oh, lead her away.
The people of Menagerie.
We'll come to understand what happens to those who speak out against the White Fang.
And we'll be left without a leader until our victory is complete.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Yeah.
A necessary sacrifice,
Mm-hmm.
Sister Ilya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
She's right to worry about the citizens. It's possible they may come to see Gira as a martyr.
Oh, good
It
point.
is a risk we must take for our High Leader.
At least they're acknowledging that.
I will not allow them to ruin this.
Jeez.
The Belladonna name has brought me nothing but grief. You've done well in finding the deserter. Bring her to me alive. But not before you've slaughtered her family.
Wow.
I have a promise to keep.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
He seems unwell.
He carries with him a tremendous burden.
No.
Are we sure he is the one to lead us?
For now.
Oh.
We must do what is best for the Faunus.
Okay.
So
these guys are becoming much more interesting.
Yeah.
Brother Yuma, did you see
New
Tagira's
character.
messenger?
No way.
Yes, beneath the waves.
Oh.
Along with his warning.
Oh, legit.
Yeah.
Then all is well.
A flying Faunus. That is awesome.
That was
Oh yeah.
good. That
Oh
was
yeah.
good. All right.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Okay, this was a good actual like progression episode
Yes.
in terms of things that are moving in specific ways. Did you notice the nice little time duration drop by Oscar? That he said, I've only had this cane for a few weeks, but it feels like an eternity or a lifetime.
Oh,
or more than
nice.
a lifetime or something like
Yeah.
that. It's kind of, they've been doing this thing recently where they've been keeping us on track with how much time has passed.
Yes.
And time isn't moving in a like a consistent manner, so we need to keep track of those types of things.
Yes, so those little tidbits are very helpful.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so they were talking about 2 necessary sacrifices.
I actually think there was a lot of necessary sacrifices that they were bringing up in there.
Sure.
And I think thematically, the point of the villains seeing certain characters as necessary sacrifices is offset by the good guys actually having metaphorical necessary sacrifices.
Yeah.
In that Ruby has had to sacrifice a lot of her, innocence, a lot of her childhood for basically this fight and stuff. You have the literal necessary sacrifices from the White Fang's perspective with Gira.
Right.
And Kali. Like, I don't know how they're going to do this, but the idea that they come together and the idea that they're going to lead Blake away so they can kill the parents.
Right. I think, okay, if they kill both parents, then props to the Kruby. But
that's gutsy.
That's gutsy because it's basically playing multiple cards at once. Whereas if they just kill like Gira, then they can kill the mom later.
Also, they kind of do, I would say, the more obvious thing, which is Gira was the one that spoke up, and Kali's just a woman. We don't need to worry about her. That's like that. Yeah. Have you seen Ruby? That's not how this show works.
Right. No, I was thinking that they do something where basically Kali escapes. Like Blake finds out what's going on, like that she's being led away by
possibly, but you know why. You know the name Kali and what that comes from.
The goddess of death.
Like war or something.
War and, the 8 blades. And yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'm very excited to see what happens.
If it comes down to a thing of where they're actually going to fight, Gira being a strong fighter, but Kali being like a terrifying fighter would be cool.
That would be so cool. Sienna Khan died quickly, and it was like the way they did it was very good, but I want to see this not be over quickly. Like have them be completely outmatched, and you know that they're going to die.
Right.
But have them go down kicking. Like
right. Here's a couple other things that could be kind of interesting. Is it's a little bit stereotypical, but what you could do is have this bit where Ilya can't go through with it entirely. So Blake runs back to the house with Sun in order to see what's going on.
Right.
Or Blake is like, Sun, this is going to be a talk between me and Ilya.
Exactly. Sun stays behind.
And he actually is a really good badass and helps the parents.
Exactly.
And he saves...
Maybe he saves
Kali.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the thing of where Gira trusts Sun to take care of them. And that's maybe the way where Sun gets a little bit of an idea for... Not really redemption, but kind of a way to...
get approval.
Approval from the parents in particular.
Now,
that would be great.
I was very intrigued by the fact that they went into the whole, like, if you had to describe a person as a single word,
Yes.
Like, I thought that was really good.
It's a clever way to give us some insight into the character's perspective on each other.
Right, and also maybe the writer's perspective of, like, okay, what are the main themes for each character?
Sure.
Sure. I just thought that was great. And the fact that they had Adam be Spite.
Spite
so
is
fitting.
Perfect because it's
so fitting.
It fits with the idea that Adam has taken this victimization route to the umpteenth degree in a way that's very negative, and it's very disappointing that Adam is this way because it makes him way less compelling
as a
character. But it's the fact that we are constantly on edge waiting to see what Adam will do next that does make his environmental story compelling.
Yeah,
because it's that the character isn't compelling because they're very one-dimensional.
Exactly, but he has a lot of power that he's wielding right now, so...
Right, so he shapes the plot a lot. But the fact that they gave him a single word, specifically spite, shows just how childish and how
one-dimensional
and one-dimensional his character is.
Yep.
But by having that also be a thing where they showed that Blake sees Ruby as purity, Weiss as defiance, and Yang as strength, tells us a little bit more actually about
Blake.
Yeah, exactly. In that her view of Weiss has matured a lot,
Oh, yeah.
And, vice versa.
Right.
But also the fact that Ruby is still in that purity stage according to Blake.
But she hasn't been around Ruby in a
long time, so she doesn't know what Ruby's been going through.
Right, which is great direct contrast with the conversation that Ruby and Oscar
had. Exactly, because they were discussing how have you held on to your innocence?
Right.
How are you working through this?
Yeah.
And what they did was interesting. They basically said, hey, Ruby's dealing with this just like everyone else. She's internalizing a lot of her stuff. It does hurt a lot.
Right.
It's not something that she's forgotten. It's the idea that Ruby is choosing, I would say, a wise approach to this because of the people around her that would have said, keep moving forward. And that's, it's an obvious Monty callback. But more than that, it's really the only thing she has, really the only thing she can do.
Yeah. But
she hasn't talked about how she's had people around her help her with this. That was cleverly omitted.
That is a great point. One of the other things I thought was really good that they brought up is that Ruby, when Oscar asked her, how are you handling this? How are you dealing with it? She immediately brought up the fact that there were other people that were in danger, there were other people that basically needed her to be on her game. Because if it was just her, if she didn't have to think about other people, then she would just start thinking about herself, and then it probably would have ended up being a bit more self-destructive and it would have taken a lot longer for her to get back into a functional state. So I'm really glad that they brought that up, because a lot of times, you find those reservoirs of energy that you didn't know you had when it's not just about you anymore.
Right, but that's also a good point in that she's probably not directly taking care of herself because she feels the need to watch out for others and such. And even more recently, her attention being solely focused on Crow and keeping him, safe and stuff until they got here. Now I could see her maybe having a little bit of a healthy distraction, but imagine what happens when something strikes close to home again. Will she feel guilt this time? Will she feel some kind of defeat? Will she feel
hope so,
because rage or some kind of indignation about the injustice being committed upon her friends and family, essentially, by people like Salem and such?
It's that impending, Ruby breaking that we want to see so bad.
Yes, exactly. This is a very good foundational step in order to bring that to bear. I feel like we're still a season or two away from that actually happening.
Yes.
The point that they're making here is that what has happened took a toll on Ruby.
Right.
And we can see it, but she's able to choose still to hold on to what is important and to keep moving forward. Whereas Yang, for instance, it was more directed specifically towards her. So she, shut down essentially.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see her have maybe a Yang moment where she lashes back in a specific direction.
Sure.
But
that would be great to see.
There's different ways they could do that. I also feel like that's a more Yang specific thing.
That's true.
But
that's not so much Ruby's style.
Right. It isn't.
Now,
if anything, I could see Ruby going on a speech at someone. Like she would be
kind of like she did
why?
with Roman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I could see that, and I loved Ruby's speech to Roman. Actually, all the dialogue from that scene.
All the dialogue from that scene was great.
It was just awesome.
But imagine her with Cinder having a conversation about why. And Cinder's explanation isn't enough for Ruby.
And it would be really cool if something like that happened, because that could also potentially shake Cinder up a bit.
And might not even shake Cinder up a bit, but it would get her to question things as to why this girl basically keeps a hold of herself throughout the whole thing.
Well, and it could also tie into the whole idea of why is Cinder choosing to continue to follow Salem? Simply because Salem's most powerful, whatever. I mean, this might just be my wishful thinking.
You are stretching it a lot.
Yes, but it could happen.
No, we all know what we want, Jacob. Yeah. The idea of that we want Cinder to break away from that group makes perfect sense. But this isn't any kind of a hint towards that.
Right. Now,
because it's speculation upon speculation.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with Blake and Sun talking and kind of showing their kind of petition bit is kind of interesting, because I feel like that's something that Gira wouldn't have come up with. I feel like that's kind of a little bit of where Blake is kind of a mishmash of all three. Blake is projecting.
So defiance, strength, and purity?
Yeah. Those are the three aspects of Blake that she can most easily identify in each character, and she's projecting them out because those are the things that she relates to them on in some way. And I like the idea that Blake still holds...
Ooh. Okay.
Okay, well, hold on. I wasn't finished my thought. The idea that of all of those, the one that you immediately go, well, Blake's not necessarily pure... I actually think that's 100% wrong. She is in a specific area, and she holds on to that as like her hope that things will get better. And and she doesn't see herself as tainted or any kind of like, sullied in any way.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
So what I was going to say is that maybe it's not necessarily that those are the words that describe Blake, but rather that those are the things that Blake wants herself to be more like. So she wants to be more defiant. She wants to be stronger. She wants to, have that more of that sense of purity. Like, because a lot of times,
but she has all of them to some extent.
Well, yeah.
Yes, having more of them would be great too.
Right,
she wants more of all the good things of her as well.
But it's the idea that a lot of times we project not necessarily the things that we think we have in abundance, but the things that we think we maybe have a bit of, but we wish we had more. We don't like the amount that we have.
Well, yeah, of course. Blake is the most self-critical person in the entire show.
Exactly.
The idea that she believes she doesn't have enough doesn't change the fact that she is also one of the most defiant characters in the whole show,
and I think
one of the strongest.
And I think that would be a great point for Sun to basically remind her of, because I think she's so self-critical, she might not give herself enough credit in those areas.
Right, and that's my point. Is that you're right? Blake doesn't believe she's strong in many of those three areas, or maybe any of those three areas. But the idea that she's identified those specifically in the group are because those are things that she can identify as strengths, meaning that she values them as strengths, meaning that they're good focuses for her as a character, meaning that those are also her strengths in some way.
Yeah.
It's the idea that she is the idealist. That's where the purity comes from. It's the idea that she knows how the world should be, and she fights for the way the world should be, but she doesn't have the means or the strength necessary to make it the way it should be.
Or at least not on her own.
It's not on her own necessarily, but she fights for that ideal world, meaning she does have some strength, and she resists against those that would combat against her ideal, giving her the defiance that she sees in Weiss. So I think those three things are kind of a subtle way for them to infer that Blake doesn't have one word right now because Blake's talking about herself. Well, Blake's talking about others. She wouldn't talk about herself in one word.
Right. And a lot of times, you can't necessarily find the one word for yourself.
Right, but if we did have to find one word for Blake, it's actually really tough. Because,
it is tough.
Because a lot of her character is a contradiction, and I think that's what makes her,
that's true,
on one hand, very compelling, and on the other hand, it's like, oh, Blake, you got to figure out what you want.
Yes.
And that's very interesting.
Okay, so can we talk about that whole deal with the two doofuses in the White Fang?
So Corsic and Fennec Albane.
Yeah, exactly.
They have been kind of a gimmick character.
They have,
and in Volume 4, they basically had the one episode.
Exactly.
And it was kind of a thing where we were a little bit disappointed by the way these two were brought in, because
they had the potential of like being really cool characters.
Right, they could have been like political rivals to Gira. They had this air of authority
and mystery.
But then they seemed to be just like kind of sniveling, manipulating.
Oh, we are sneakily working for Adam.
Yes.
Not obvious or anything.
Now
they're starting to question him, and that whole thing of saying like, is Adam really the best leader for us? For now.
For now. But did you notice actually the difference between the two?
Oh, yeah.
The one who's
the
saying,
smaller one.
They will know what happens to those. Right. And I was like, whoa, Darth Vader, calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
Calm down. But then the other one, his ears were pulled back.
Yeah.
He's, I think Fennec is the one that, if I remember correctly, Fennec is the one that's smaller. And also, Corsic sounds like a bigger fox breed than Fennec. So, now the Fennec fox one is the one that was kind of slinking back and being like, he seems unwell.
Yeah. Does he seem unwell to you? It's like, really?
But you know what is funny?
Mm-hmm.
When he said he seems unwell, he actually was meaning like he doesn't seem like mentally well.
Oh, yeah. No,
the other guy changed the interpretation of it. He said he carries an immense burden. Now, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're mentally unwell, yes, you can have a burden. But one of the things that's interesting is when you're not mentally well, one of the first things you'll do is you'll start to show signs of it on the outside.
Right.
But that's like very subtle. The fact that he's showing it this much here, and Fennec's like, he seems unwell. I think Fennec is actually trying to hold back his own words, so that he doesn't seem like he's being disloyal or doubting. He's just like, casual observation, and the brother's like, yeah, brush it off. He carries an immense burden.
And that makes me really excited, because these two were introduced as a pair, right? And that makes you think that, okay, they're always going to be kind of a package deal, right? When you see one, you see the other.
They finish each other's sentences and
exactly,
stuff like that.
right.
Yeah.
But if Fennec, or whoever is the smaller one, starts to doubt, and that goes in parallel with the whole conflict with Ilya, and then Blake and all that stuff, that would be very cool if we actually got to see some real division within their ranks, and not just division, which is what we wanted, but not just division from the standpoint of Blake, being like, Ilya, don't you realize, Adam will rub off on you and all that, but actually seeing Ilya interacting with characters other than Blake, because that will make her seem more established as an independent character and not simply a side character in Blake's story.
Right.
And that excites me a lot.
I think right about now, Ilya has become her own character.
Yeah,
I think this episode
she's begun to.
This episode was an actual Ilya episode, if you think about it. There was the fact that Blake was involved in a lot of the screen time, but if you notice how much time they actually spend talking about Ilya, it's a large amount. It's in fact, it's almost to the point where they're telling us kind of things that happened to Ilya's character in an expository backstory way, even though we already knew most of it.
Right. It was more of seeing how Blake perceives the other people, because it wasn't actually like, none of the screen time with Blake was actually about Blake. It was all about other people.
Right. And also it's stuff that we mostly saw in the Blake trailer for Volume 5.
Right.
Which, yes, is a part of the actual story, but it's not necessarily something that everyone watched.
Right. So, and they're making sure that if you didn't watch that, you can still understand what's going on. Right.
Right. So the idea that there was something that kind of caught my eye, was the idea that Ilya has this specific kind of tragic backstory and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Blake was trying to say how much she's becoming like Adam, or she could be like Adam.
Right.
And she's worried about that. I feel like that's kind of a setup to say that the reason why Ilya is kind of in their special inner circle is not only because she's effective, but because her and Adam actually have a very similar story in some way.
Okay.
And
yeah, that'd be cool.
There's a little bit of subtle inference
about Adam
based on
that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But this episode was, I think, primarily an Ilya episode with Ruby, Oscar, and Blake and Sun as the side characters that were kind of
maybe. I'm not sure. I might see it as more of a Ruby episode, but maybe that's just because I've been hoping that they would have a conversation.
Well, that was an important moment for Ruby, but
yeah, okay, good point. Because then at the end of the episode, they finish it with
saying,
Ilya, right, kill the Belladonnas,
right?
Yeah.
She was the one that had to make the necessary sacrifice after they had done this, and one of the things that they brought up in this was Blake having that progression of how she perceived Adam. Slowly but surely it changed.
Yes.
This is one of those moments for Ilya, potentially. If we look back on this with proper context, we'll see probably that Ilya, this was the moment where Ilya was like, wait a minute.
Well, and if she had heard that message where it's like, I have a promise to keep, she probably would have felt a bit differently about being told to kill the Belladonnas than simply like, they're in the way, they're a problem.
They intentionally did not show her that message, because as they said, they like to control the flow of information. And
that flying Faunus.
Oh, Yuma. That was awesome.
That was so cool.
But they handled that well, because that would have been a very clever plot point that would be hanging over the heads of the plot, so to speak, while we're waiting to see what happened to the messenger. And they're like, nope, we went
Messenger's
and
gone.
had him killed there at the bottom of the ocean.
That's why, like, if you ever send like an important message, it's like, okay, send multiple messengers, or have a buddy system.
Right, have a buddy system, or at the very least
a check-in system to make sure
have like a very secret message being sent out. Don't do it and announce it to everyone.
Hey, anyone who might want to stop this very important information from leaking,
right? So
this is the messenger. He's
here's where I actually am a little bit kind of worried about Gira, because that was a really big mistake when he said, "I've sent the messenger to Mistral to contact them and tell them about the impending attack."
Mm-hmm.
Based on the stuff that they found in the scroll, they knew that they were planning to assassinate Sienna Khan. And yet
they didn't think to treat it more like an actual military problem.
Right. Because right then and there, if they take that to be true, they're already at war with Adam.
Exactly. And then
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about the whole thing. You need to treat this whole thing tactically and be a lot smarter. I wouldn't be surprised actually if we found out in 3 or 4 episodes that Gira knew that was kind of the way they would do things, and he sent 5 messengers.
That would be cool to see. See Gira one up Adam. He's like, Adam, you're too predictable.
Say he's captured or something, and Adam's I'm gonna make you feel pain, and everything you did has failed. He's like, not quite everything. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, that messenger that you obviously thought was being sent to Mistral stuff, that was one of 5 messengers. And he's like, what? And he's like, they're already going to be warned by now.
It's sorry, there was the backup for going to Mistral, but then all the other ones were going to the different kingdoms. So
right, you didn't find my orca whale faunus that was swimming around the long way. I had the running faunus, I had this flying faunus, and I had 3 swimming faunus.
You think you're the only one with flying faunus?
Right?
Come on, bro, get good. That would be
fun.
That would be fantastic. I would love to see it, if that does happen. And I know this is speculation on speculation, but I would love to see Gira basically make some comments about Adam, ever since my daughter started hanging out with you, I knew you were a problem, and I was never really impressed by da 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 da. And he just starts telling him off right before Adam kills him, right? But just so that even as Adam kills him, he feels like he's not winning.
Right.
I would love that so much.
Right. I feel like once Volume 3 ended, and he said, "I will destroy everything you love," we said, well,
new quest has begun.
Rip Blake's parents. It's the idea that one of the things about Adam's character that you can kind of assume, is, I think this ties in with the childish themes, is that because he's meant to represent kind of a petulant child with too much power, a lot of things are going to go his way. Because he demands them that they go his way.
Yeah, he'll focus on those petty grudges. I will pout
and whine if things don't go my way. So,
even if it's not necessarily the best tactical decision.
No, but what that means is that when he says he's going to kill people,
he's going to make sure he does it.
Kill them.
Yeah.
And what that means, though, is that once he starts making claims about things he's going to do that he has no absolutely no way he can do, that's when things are going to start to go really weird, and not necessarily bad, but not necessarily the way he thinks.
Yeah. Right.
At the very least.
Because every petulant child reaches that point where they realize even if you scream and complain and sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Right. Yep.
And that would be a very, very awesome moment.
Right. And it's one of those things where it would have to be a moment where if he was wise, he would notice the blunder in his decision.
But he's not.
But as long as he only needs to be intelligent, he's probably going to keep succeeding. And that's where I think a lot of people need to kind of get with the program in that regard, was that once we saw Adam assassinate Sienna, that was the point where we realized, Adam is intelligent. Because we didn't really know anything about his character in Volume 3. We had maybe a semblance of character development potentially when we saw Cinder kind of strong-arm him into doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to have been really much of a problem for him.
Right.
So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see when he fails. How hard will he fail? and will it be a thing where he was just outsmarted, or he was kind of out predicted in the fact that he is very simple, but he lacks the wisdom to notice those kind of multi-dimensional things.
Is he going to have an ending that's kind of reminiscent of Azula being chained up and just crying and going crazy?
See, I think Adam's end isn't necessarily very soon. I think Adam's...
No, I don't think so either.
Adam's going to suffer some losses, or a big loss, but he's not done anytime soon.
Oh, no. He's just getting started. But there will come a point where his whole world is basically crumbled around him, and he realizes that it's just him.
Right. It's the idea that the way Roman died, think about it this way. Roman died in a way that I think betrays the way the lot of the writers at Kruby like to have their villains go out.
Sure.
It's the idea that Roman died in a way that was anticlimactic because he's an anticlimactic kind of cartoonish villain of the first season. You know, if I would have gotten away with it wasn't for you darn kids, you know, kind of a thing. And he had to move out of the story because he didn't fit in this place of gods and wizards and stuff.
Right. Now, for Adam, since he's the spiteful little child, I get the feeling it's going to end with him basically
put in timeout.
Put in timeout, like throwing a temper tantrum. Like, Yeah, and it's going to be so satisfying.
It's going to be very satisfying in the way that because he demanded all this attention and, like, you know, saying that I'm important and I know the way for the Faunus and stuff like that, there won't be much mercy in that regard.
Right.
He's going to be ridiculed. It's going to be it's going to be
glorious.
It's going to be kind of sad in a way to watch him kind of pout and, you know,
but then at the same time not.
But at the same time not at all. It's kind of how people were disappointed at Roman's death, but other people are like, oh my gosh, it's so perfect.
I love that so much.
So we haven't seen anything from
The Bad
Guys, exactly.
Right, which makes me excited because that means maybe the next episode we'll get some cool stuff with Cinder, maybe her attacking the tribe.
I think because they focused nothing on Raven, the tribe, Yang, and all them, that means Cinder, Emerald, Mercury, Watts even, maybe, and potentially, no, Tyrion and Watts actually might be back at Salem's place. He might be fixing up Tyrion with a new tail. Some kind of mechanical tail. That would be kind of cool. Well, that was what I mean, do you think that was kind of what they were hinting at when he's like, Tyrion lost his tail? What happened to his old one?
Right.
The idea that maybe even his old one was kind of a chimera type thing, potentially.
Sure. Or he can just regrow it.
Yeah, possibly.
You know, that'd be unfortunate if it was like that, because I'd really enjoy seeing him fight in his next battle with just like this stump or a grim tail or a robot tail or whatever.
That would be great. I like when consequences of people's actions last over into multiple future seasons and stuff like that. Anything this episode? I feel like everyone was going through some kind of necessary sacrifice storyline.
Right.
I feel like the title was intentionally put there as a, hey, everyone's got their necessary sacrifice. It's the idea that Oscar is sacrificing a lot of his life in the same way that Ruby has sacrificed a lot of her normal life for what's been going on right now, but it's absolutely necessary so that they can stop people like Salem and her goons and stuff.
And that's really cool that they have that kind of hidden meaning or at least depth to the title. It's not just the obvious, like, what's the necessary sacrifice? It's the one that they're talking about when they say necessary sacrifice. You know,
roll credits. Yeah,
but it's like, no, there's more to it than that. That's the theme of the whole episode.
Right. So, given that these sacrifices are necessary, what do you think will be the ramifications of Oscar and Ruby's sacrifice when the storyline gets to focus on that in particular?
I have no idea.
We'll have Oscar's kind of individuality getting a little bit...
That's what I'm thinking.
Left on the wayside.
There will obviously be the parallels between the sacrifices that Ruby has had to make and the ultimate sacrifice that Summer ended up making.
Yes, very true.
And I don't know how they're going to play that, though. Like, they There are so many different ways they could do it.
Yeah, and also they're cleverly talking about the way Ozpin sees Ruby before we get the different perspective on Ozpin in like a future episode.
Sure.
The idea that once we find out what Raven knows about Ozpin and potentially the rest of Team Stark, we're going to get a little bit of doubt thrown into our minds of why Ozpin's doing the things that he's doing.
Yeah, because so far it's like there's that little bit of doubt, but we're not really like seeing things from a completely different perspective.
No, but I think one of the reasons why like I in particular love Ozpin as a character so much is the idea of all this mystery surrounding him.
Oh yeah.
And we know that he's integral to the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I swear, that was the funniest thing. Someone said integral. It was one of the Albane brothers, I'm pretty sure. He was talking about Ilya. And I was like, oh my god, did you literally just say integral? It's integral. Integral. Anyways,
yeah, it happens.
It happens, like menagerie. But, you know. Yeah.
Well, I was more thinking my favorite scene from Black Lagoon, where it's the picaresque. You know. You know.
Yes.
It happens.
Picturesque.
Yeah. Picturesque. Exactly.
Yeah, I know. There's words that are easy to slur and stuff like that. And
we
maybe
do that all the time.
Maybe that's a character trait for Fennec or Corsac, whichever it was that said that.
Yeah.
I think it was Fennec, the smaller one. And that's funny if I've got the foxes mixed up. That would be funny too. But
what did the fox say?
Integral.
Yep.
Integral. I think that's what he said. Integral. I was like, ugh. But
inside the goal.
Sorry. I got off on a tangent there. What were we actually talking about? We were talking about Ozpin and the perspectives change. Yes. So by us seeing that Ozpin does acknowledge and respect the spark that is within Ruby, and showing kind of that, that's why she's the main character.
Right.
It's something to where once Raven gives us that extra info, will we immediately go, Ozpin is not good? Or will we go, Raven, you need to look at this from the big picture.
Yeah.
You're obviously like super biased here because of the things that happened to your team in particular. Or, yes, Ozpin made a big mistake there. Oh my gosh.
Or it was really unclear. Like, because if they can keep us in that realm where we're guessing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a special place to be in.
It's a very special place.
Because especially right now, because the whole Raven does seem very one-dimensional so far. Like like she has her reasons, and it's that like because she comes at things so strongly. Like
right now, Watts is one-dimensional.
Okay, yes.
Hazel, even in a way, is a little bit one-dimensional.
Yes, but the idea is that
we've seen Raven in multiple different contexts.
Yes.
And her show different dimensions when she's talking with Yang versus when she's talking with Crow.
Sure, but she likes to use very extreme kind of like ideologies and statements and things like that. And a lot of the times that makes it harder to sort of not agree, but well, kind of.
Well, no, I can break it down. When she's talking to Yang with the tribe, she's posturing as a kind of a political thing so that she doesn't have her position threatened in any way.
I'm not saying she didn't have reasons to do the things that she did, but I'm saying that until we see those deeper aspects of her, it'll be kind of hard for me to really care about her character, with the exception of from the fact that she is Yang's mother.
I feel like you're forgetting about the Crow and Raven conversation.
Oh, and that was fantastic.
I feel like you haven't actually looked at that conversation and the difference between that one and this conversation with Yang. There's huge weird crossover and some very stark differences.
Really?
Oh. I was waiting for that.
You were.
I have so many of these that I'm just saving.
Is that you?
It's me. But yes, I would say Raven will get more dimensionality once she has this conversation with Yang and Weiss behind closed tent doors.
Did you mean to say dimensionality?
Yes. Yeah. I knew it.
She has the portals.
Yeah. Also, a minor point. This has nothing to do with this episode in particular, but since we mentioned Raven, Raven has another portal. Someone mentioned this in the comments, and it makes perfect sense. I can't believe I didn't notice this. But the idea that Raven has a portal that allows her to go back to the tribe, potentially to Vernal.
Right.
Because when she was talking with Crow, she portaled out and didn't go to Yang or Tai Yang.
But also, if she is sort of in charge of the tribe, and she often talks about moving the tribe, if she's going to do that, the most natural way that she's able to keep the tribe hidden would be if she has other people with bonds in other places so that they can just disappear if they have to. And that's the perfect way. If they're about to get curb stomped by Cinder and Mercury and Emerald and all them, they're like, okay, let's just leave, right? So I would be very surprised if Raven didn't have at least one other person somewhere around the world that it's like, okay, if things go bad, we can port to them.
Right. It would be a really big twist if Tai Yang has been enabling this kind of thing. And he's kind of going around and being like, well, you need to get away? Okay. It's like, Tai Yang, you've been in Patch all this time. Yeah, I've just been sitting here.
In Patch. Not going anywhere else.
Right.
That would be insane if they did that.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will, and I kind of hope they don't.
Oh, I kind of hope they don't either. But the idea is that right now we don't know actually everything about
There are
Raven.
some things that don't add up. There are some numbers that aren't on the table.
Yes, and I think that's good because it makes Raven more
more
interesting because there's
mystery and all that good stuff.
I think when people ask me what makes RWBY interesting, it's a really interesting kind of point to bring up, in that a lot of the present data that you get within RWBY is, I would say, it makes it seem like an average to good show. But I think what makes RWBY an exceptional show is the idea that every time something happens, the potential of the show increases. And
it's still very much on the upward slope. It's not one of those shows where
it's always been on the upward slope. I think even in Volume 4, there were a lot of storylines in particular that counteracted the points where it went down a bit, with like Weiss in particular.
Yeah,
like basically everything in Atlas was fantastic. The bit with Yang actually kind of interacting with Tai Yang, I was fantastic, because we actually got insight into Raven.
Right.
We got a little bit into the fighting side of it. There was a little bit into the PTSD side of stuff, and kind of bringing that up a little bit. And even like things like Ruby's letter to Yang and all of them was showing about the potential of Ruby's eventual breaking point showing up again.
Yes.
It's things that I feel like the way RWBY works is RWBY has a massive roadmap of awesome moments that they want to hit.
Yeah.
And they've known every single awesome moment since like Volume 1, and over time they keep adding some to it.
Right.
And then every volume they say, we are going to capitulate 5 of these things and have them happen.
Sure.
Or some arbitrary number.
Yeah, and even if like say a particular volume isn't as good as the last one, it still has that, pretty consistent upward trend where you know it's going places.
Right. So when I look at RWBY as a series thus far, I can see about 25 awesome moments that they're projecting to happen and have not happened yet.
Yeah.
And they keep building them up to be better and better and better as time goes on.
Yep.
So you get rewarded for this investment into it because eventually we're going to get things like a Team Stark
flashback. It's going to get gooder and gooder.
We're going to find out what happened to the moon.
Oh yeah, we might get Penny 2.0. We might get Dictator Ironwood.
Yeah, we might get to see maidens being used in like in conjunction with armies or something like that.
We might get to see Whitley throwing Jacques into a prison. Like, there are so many things.
But yes, this episode was a good episode. We went on a little bit of a tangent there in terms of discussion. But I feel like the thing that was the main point this episode was that it went into the characters who, in particular, have had to sacrifice things or are going to sacrifice people for their own goals and or progression.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to have as a breather episode in between craziness.
Yes. And I feel like a lot of people might look at this episode and their knee-jerk reaction is like, oh, it was kind of boring, not really much happened. But it's like, no. These are the episodes that we need to have more of in RWBY.
Yeah.
Like getting into the characters and the deeper feelings and emotions and, you know, why they're doing what they're doing. And
right.
That's what makes those high octane action moments so worth it. We wouldn't have cared as much about Pyrrha dying if it wasn't all the stuff we'd seen in previous volumes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so them building up basically the stuff with Oscar in particular shows us, yes, he is the secret weapon. He is Ozpin and Oscar. He is going to drive the plot forward in his Oscar, you know. and having him get moments of emotional depth in conjunction with our main character is well used story screen time.
There did seem to be some ship baiting there, but
but I felt like it was more in the Black Sun variety than it was in the Rose Garden variety.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are a lot of happy shippers right now, and there are a lot of unhappy shippers right now.
Specifically Bumblebee.
But like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You know what? If you don't ship, you're happy about all of it. It's all just character development. So
exactly.
Maybe you could join the shipless army.
Well, no, because we are actually very avid shippers. We have said many a time that we ship Ruby with character development.
Yes, that is true.
And the Ruby character development ship got some great attention this episode.
Thank you for bringing that up. I was like, no, I'm not a shipper. And then you're like, we ship Ruby with character development. Like, yes, that is right. I am actually a shipper of Ruby / character development. That's a great thing. All right, wow, it's been an hour. We're going to wrap this up here. If you guys want to check out our Discord and chat with us about Ruby and stuff, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. We've got early access for a bunch of other shows as well. And we'd love to chat with you and get more questions about Ruby and stuff. We'll also interact with you, of course, in the YouTube comments here.
Right. Because we don't have to worry about spoilers.
We don't have to worry about spoilers.
It's coming out week to week.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll see you all later. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.